Hi everyone, and welcome to Color Your Plate. This is an introduction to Color Your Summer, which is my 5-week online health promotion program that starts this Friday, and I hope you'll be a part of it. Hope today just gives you a little bit of information about different phytonutrients and why it's important to keep them part of your focus when you're thinking about healthy eating, and maybe excite you to learn some more over the next 5 weeks. So I'm going to share my screen right now. And we're going to present here. I'm just going to move myself over here a little bit. Alrighty. So here we are, we're going to talk about painting your plate with color, making sure that you have lots of different colors in your diet and in your grocery cart so that you can make these really colorful recipes and help support your body in the most amazing natural way that you possibly can. So when people talk about, or they ask me what it is that I do, I explain to them that I talk to clients about improving their lifestyle medicine. So I love this quote. This is the only slide I'm going to read in its entirety, but you can't change your genes. You can change your lifestyle. And in turn, you reduce your risk factors. Family history doesn't have to be your destiny. And I love this quote and I love this concept because it really brings to light the fact that we're all given a blueprint, right? We've all been given certain genes, and we get to be a bit of the architect of how that blueprint presents itself. So there's a whole study of how genes decide to express or not express themselves, and this area of science is getting lots and lots of attention, and it should, because it's a very powerful concept to think that you have some control by your lifestyle choices to either fire up some genes or calm down some genes. So when people say things like diabetes runs in my family, or high blood pressure runs in my family, or heart disease or Alzheimer's, these things run in my family, I really want to empower them to say, yes, that is your blueprint, but how can you play around with how you live your life to either make those genes calm on down or unfortunately express themselves. So when we talk about lifestyle medicine, lifestyle choices, we're talking about exercise, what you eat, how you manage your stress, your relationships in your life, your career happiness, things like how much water you drink, or how much time you spend outside. All of these things are lifestyle choices that can again help your genes express themselves in healthy ways. So today we're going to be talking specifically about food choices, food being a lifestyle choice. And sometimes it's pretty simple. You can either go one way or the other. And I want to share with you tonight why it's really important to go this way, that's the right way, a little bit more frequently, if not much more frequently, than this road that goes to the left over here. And as I'm talking, I want you to be considering what types of diseases that you perhaps have in your blueprint that have been handed down to you by genes. And if I'm talking about a certain color of fruits and vegetables that really helps to maintain health and helps to quench those genes from expressing themselves, I want you to circle or highlight that in your notes so that you can really think about having more of those colors. I do encourage you to take some notes today. If you would like, you can do them in a chart format, which I will show you in just a moment. It's going to help to make the information that you learned tonight or today, or whenever you're watching this webinar, not just be information that you're learning at the time, but then how do we put it into action? Because information is great, but action's better. So I'm going to give you some actionable steps that you can use tonight, and if you take some notes, the likelihood of you taking those actions are much greater. So often when we talk about food groups, we think about, or we talk about food in general, we're talking about these macronutrients, so carbohydrates, fats, and protein. And chances are you have some concept of what you think is a healthy combination of these. If you don't, you likely have a coworker or a relative who is sharing with you exactly how much of each of these that they have, and even how much they think you should have of each of these. So this generally tends to be the place where people get stuck when they're thinking about nutrition, that this is what it's all about. And what I want you to know is tonight that absolutely that these are important aspects of nutrition, but there's another aspect of nutrition that doesn't get a lot of attention. It is phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are going to be what we're speaking about this evening, or at this workshop that I'm presenting here this evening. And they are the powerhouse, and I'll explain why, and I really think that you're going to be inspired to focus on phytonutrients in addition to focusing on your carbs, your fats, and your proteins in your diet. Phytonutrients are only found in fruits and vegetables. They can be manufactured in a vitamin type of form, but there's a lot of research that shows that the synergy of the fiber and the vitamins and the phytonutrients of a certain vegetable work in synergy to be best absorbed by our body. So yes, I'm not against vitamins, but having real food and lots of colorful fruits and vegetables, that's your biggest bang for your buck. So what are phytonutrients or phytochemicals? Sometimes they're referred to as phytochemicals. Bionutrients is also another term that you might hear it being called. So they're again found just in plants. They're chemical substances obtained from the plants. They are active biologically, but they're not nutritive. So in essence, we don't actually need them for our bodies to keep our cells growing, but we need them because they help us literally to live. They help us to make sure that our propensity to develop different diseases is much lower. So phytonutrients, phytochemicals, it gives the plants protection against disease. And when we eat them, we get protection from our diseases. So basically, it's everything the plants have that we want. So if you can picture a head of broccoli growing outside, it cannot slather on moisturizer, it cannot swat itself from bugs or shoo away pests. It has to create these phytochemicals or these phytonutrients that give it protection from its enemies, the sun, pests, rodents, bugs. It produces these chemicals or these phytonutrients to ward off those enemies. And when we eat these bright colored foods that have all these phytonutrients or phytochemicals in them, their protection becomes our protection. And our enemies are not necessarily the sun or bugs or rodents. Our enemies are diseases, as I said, like cancers and heart disease and obesity and Alzheimer's. These are our enemies. And when we eat the colorful fruits and vegetables, their protection then becomes our protection from our enemies. When you think about an apple, we could categorize an apple as its macronutrient. It's a complex carbohydrate. We can also talk about the micronutrients that are in an apple, vitamin C, potassium. And then we can talk about the phytonutrients, of which there are so many. So they are discovering new phytonutrients all of the time. There's over 10,000 and counting. And in one apple, there are so many phytonutrients. Over 100 is what I've read in some studies. We want to talk about variety tonight. It is the spice of life, and that is true in all aspects and absolutely in nutrition. I'm going to be talking about the rainbow. I'm going to go through each of the colors that fruits and vegetables come in, including white and brown vegetables as well. So we will go through the entire rainbow, just briefly touching on the benefits of each of the colors. If you are interested in getting some tips, I'm going to be showing you some things that I'm hoping will make you say wow. I know they made me say wow when I was first learning these things, and they really stuck with me, and I think they will do the same for you. So I've included a wow for each of the colors as well. If you want to take some notes, you might want to set up your note in this manner: the different colors, some of the benefits. I'm going to be showing a list of fruits and vegetables of that color, so anything that's a favorite of yours, maybe jot it down. And then have a list of fruits and vegetables that I'm going to be showing you that you maybe have never had or maybe not often had, and I want you to keep a list of those as well. In addition, I'm going to be sharing those wows with you, which will be considered a tip, so I encourage you to write those down as well. The more that you write down, the chances of it actually becoming part of your life are much greater. It's just how the human brain works. So we want to start with red, and here are some of the phytonutrients that are found in red fruits and vegetables. Lycopene is one that you may have already heard of before. Lycopene is found in tomatoes. So maybe you've heard of lycopene before, but here are just some of the phytonutrients that are found in fruits and vegetables that are red. And the benefits include anti-aging benefits, maintaining good memory function, heart health, urinary tract health. You've always heard of having cranberry juice, real cranberry juice, not sugary cranberry juice, to help for urinary tract health. And it can lower some risk of some cancers. I always think of red as the heart, and absolutely the heart health. If you have heart disease that runs in your family, red fruits and vegetables really need to be part of your daily diet. Again, these are some of the other benefits. Here are some fruits and vegetables that are red, and I'm sure there's some that you had already probably this week. But is there one that you maybe haven't had recently? Have you had beets lately? If you haven't, go pick up some beets and learn how to roast them and throw them in your salad, or marinate them in some vinegar and olive oil and some garlic. Delicious. Even just thinking about that makes my mouth water a little bit. So think about any of these that are your favorites, put that down in your list, but also find one that you maybe haven't had very often or maybe have never had before, and jot that down as well. Pomegranates are one of my favorite things to have in the fall. I eat it instead of like chips or popcorn or things like that because it's got that crunchy and there's a lot of hand piece to it. I love a pomegranate in the fall, but they're not really around this time of year in the summer. Here's your wow for red. The raw food diet trend has got a lot of attention, not so much where I live in New Hampshire, but definitely around the country, especially in California. I know raw food is a big deal out there. There's restaurants that solely serve raw food. But when it comes to lycopene, when it comes to making the most of eating your tomatoes, you want to cook them. That's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck in terms of the lycopene. It's much more readily absorbed by the body when it's been cooked a bit. In addition, when you're choosing your tomatoes, you might be going to the farmer's market soon, if not already. Tomatoes should be out soon, if not already. And those big beefsteak tomatoes, they look great, and I know I tend to want to go to them as well. But if you want to increase your phytonutrients, you want to have more phytonutrients, you want to grab the smaller tomatoes. It's more skin, more coverage, that's more exposure to the sun, that's going to give you more phytonutrients. So smaller tomatoes versus the larger tomatoes. That made me say wow the first time. I'm hoping it did the same for you. Now, if you take small tomatoes and make a tomato sauce out of it, you are doubling your lycopene. Well, I don't know doubling, but what the amount would be, but you're really making the most of your lycopene. So there is your red. Moving on to orange and yellow, they share a lot of the same phytonutrients, so I do group them together. And carotenoids might be one that you might be familiar with. And carotenoids are really important for skin health and for eye health. You know, your mom told you to eat your carrots. Bugs Bunny told you to eat your carrots for good health, and they were right. Definitely, they help with maintaining your eye health. They also help reduce risk of heart disease, and again, in preventing cancer, especially lungs, esophagus cancer, cancer of the esophagus, and stomach cancer. It's also a great boost to your immune system to have yellow and orange fruits and vegetables. Here are some orange, and I'm going to get a slide for yellow as well, but just take a peek and see if there's one that maybe you haven't had before, haven't had very often, and jot that down. Maybe even some you don't know about. And how about yellow? Some yellow fruits and vegetables as well. I love yellow beets too. So take a look at these. Again, jot down any that you haven't had recently or don't have very often. Here's your wow for orange and yellow. When you are, we know oranges have tons of vitamin C, but what you might not know is they have over 125 different phytonutrients in them. And the majority of the phytonutrients is found in the white pithy part. Not all of it, but it's very concentrated in this part. So when you're peeling your orange, I tell people, just remove enough so that it doesn't inhibit how much you enjoy the orange. If you're really opposed to it, take it all off. You still are going to get some phytonutrients, but if maybe you can get in the habit of leaving just a little bit, you'll be benefiting your absorption of more phytonutrients when you eat your orange. Greens are the king of phytonutrients. When I do Green Week for Color Your Summer, it's a lot going on because there's so much information and so much focus on having lots of leafy green vegetables and other green vegetables. And they're just really important. It can't be overstated how much importance you should put on having lots of greens in your diet. They're important for lowering risks of cancers again, vision health again, nervous system health, powerful antioxidants. And if you aren't aware of what antioxidants are and what free radicals are, do a little research about that. But we have free radicals at us all of the time, and antioxidants help those free radicals to just get the electron that they're missing so that they don't attack our cells looking for that electron. So it's a whole other aspect of nutrition, but if you're not familiar with it, I really would recommend taking a look and doing a little research about that yourself. But you do want to have lots of antioxidants in your body to help protect your cells. Here are some green fruits and vegetables. This is a small list. There are so many more. This is just a starter list. If you haven't had an artichoke in a while, if you've never prepared an artichoke, write that one down in your list for sure. And lots of different greens. We've got arugula here, kale, broccoli rabe. These are all different leafy greens, and there's so many more. I want to share with you a wow about leafy greens, and this is never a happy moment for people. It's a bit of a downer to learn that the iceberg lettuce is not your best source of phytonutrients. And let's think about that, about why that is. I know this is the tiniest iceberg lettuce, but it was actually, I knew I was just going to be using it for a prop, and I saw it in the clearance section of my grocery store's produce for 50 cents, so I grabbed it. So it's just tiny. It was an organic lettuce. So when you see these big, huge lettuce, it's because they've been sprayed with lots of pesticides to keep them safe. So anyways, this small one, think about what we talked about of why plants have phytonutrients at the beginning of this workshop, and they have phytonutrients to protect themselves. But when you look at an iceberg lettuce, it's really pretty protected already. It protects itself. So when I take off these top layers, I'm not going to have a whole lot of green once I go down there a little bit. It's going to be a lot of kind of white and not have a lot of phytonutrients. So I know it's always not great news for people to hear about iceberg lettuce. But the result, the option, is to get more of a spring mix, more of kind of a boxed lettuce or lettuce that is exposed more. So if you think about this lettuce is growing up from the ground in this way, next to this one perhaps, and it's getting all of this exposure, all of this exposure to the air, to the sun, and it has to protect itself, right? So it's going to build lots of phytonutrients to protect itself. The reddish lettuce has the most phytonutrients in them. So think about getting more of a spring mix right here. Some kale, arugula is great. Spinach, those baby spinach, boxed baby spinach is great. I would recommend for your leafy greens to get organic when possible, because they are really susceptible to absorbing and being having it hard to wash off any pesticides. So it's an area where I would recommend getting organic. So think about, when you're choosing your lettuce, think about what's been exposed to the elements more. And if you are a lover of iceberg, just lean into it. Have a little bit of iceberg and a little bit of one of these greens with it. And then slowly wean yourself out of the iceberg. And before you know it, you'll think, why did I even like iceberg? It's really not very taste, doesn't have a lot of taste at all. So consider this your wow for leafy green lettuce. Here we are with blue and purple. Resveratrol is a phytonutrient that people often are familiar with, and they're often familiar with it because it includes red wine. And actually, I should have just a glass of red wine with me right now. That would really prove the point, and it would be enjoyable. So resveratrol is found in grapes, red grapes, and in wine. And it's a wonderful antioxidant and really helps to protect, again, against these environmental toxins, which have a lot of free radicals. It's very strong with antioxidants, which helps with anti-aging. If you have a lot of free radicals that are in your body and in your environment, they are looking and attacking cells to get that missing electron. If you have antioxidants, it's like the antioxidant says, here you go, here's what you're missing, and it helps protect your cells. It improves our immune system and supports, again, with the eye health and cancers and cardiovascular disease. It's also a mood booster to have blue fruits and vegetables. And this is what's important in me for my life and my blueprint, it's really important for brain health. So if I was taking this workshop, I would be circling blue and purple fruits and vegetables like crazy. Because in my family, we have Alzheimer's that runs in our family. And if you've known someone that has suffered from that disease, you know how heartbreaking it is and how horrible it is. So I know that is quite possibly in my blueprint. I don't know it for sure. I haven't had testing done for that, but it could be in my blueprint. There's a chance that it could be. So I live my life in a way to try to not express those genes. I try to manage my stress well. I exercise regularly. I try to get good sleep. Sometimes I'm more successful at that than others. And I value my relationships and make sure I have time outside. And I eat purple fruits and vegetables. I have blueberries every single day. I have them either in my oatmeal or in my smoothie, or this time of year, some fresh blueberries. I pick blueberries at an organic blueberry orchard, and I freeze bags and bags of them for the winter. And I have a handful of blueberries every day. This way, I'm feeling like I am doing everything that's within my power to maintain my health and suppress those genes that would make it such that Alzheimer's could develop. So thinking about blueberries and brain health, if you have not done any research or heard anything about blueberries and brain health, Google that. You will be amazed. The research is just fantastic and really exciting. So my suggestion to just about everybody is to have some blueberries just about every day. They're really a wonderful superfood. Here are some other fruits and vegetables that are purple, and it's kind of fun to see some things that are coming out purple now. I don't remember seeing purple asparagus when I was younger, but there is some now. Purple carrots, if you've never cut into a purple carrot, please do that, because it is the most gorgeous thing. I'm not going to do a spoiler alert to tell you what it looks like inside. I'm going to just encourage you to go get some and cut it open. And the first time I did, I let out an audible gasp. It was so pretty. Truly, it's just gorgeous. So take a look at this list. If there's something that you haven't had recently that's purple or blue, jot it down. And now white and brown vegetables, they help to maintain healthy cholesterol levels, your heart health, reduce risk of cancers. Are you seeing a theme here with fruits and vegetables? Inhibit tumor growth. Here are some white fruits and vegetables that are available to you. Again, if there's something that you haven't had recently, mushrooms are one of those undersold vegetables. They really give us quite a bit in terms of phytonutrients, but other benefits as well. The wow for white. I love this one because it's so easy to implement, and it's something that not a lot of people know. When you have a recipe that calls for garlic, you want to prepare it in terms of smashing it or pressing it or cutting it up, slicing it up, and leave it for about 10 minutes. In that time that it's set aside, it develops the allicin, the phytonutrient that helps protect garlic. It feels like it's been attacked, and it lets out more of that allicin to make it more readily available for you to eat and absorb. So if you are like me, before I knew this little tip, you take your garlic and it's time to put it in your hot your hot oil for a stir fry or something. I used to take my garlic clove, press it right into the pan. Now, if I did that, I would really be missing out on a lot of the phytonutrient benefits of garlic. So now I know, press it, let it sit for a little bit, and then add it. Do I always have 10 minutes to wait? I don't, but I try to let it sit for as long as I have time for, and I encourage you to get in the habit of doing the same. Anytime I have a recipe, I really just try to do that first. In addition, if there's recipes that don't have cooked garlic, I'm thinking about salsa or this time of year gazpacho, those would be great because you're not cooking the garlic at all. It has plenty of time to develop that allicin. That made me say, wow, I hope it did the same for you. So now thinking about how to implement these colorful fruits and vegetables, you have definitely ways to top it on your oatmeal or your yogurt. If anybody wants to make this for me anytime soon, I would love it. These acai bowls are really popular now. Smoothies are a great way to get in fruits and vegetables. I highly recommend freezing your fruit so it gets that creamy texture. Salads. If you are roasting vegetables at night or cooking vegetables the night before, make extra so that you can have a different color in your salad the next day. This is a soup, gazpacho possibly. Great way to get lots of different vegetables and soups and chilies. Stir fries are a fantastic way to get lots of colors in one dish. So the idea of eating your phytonutrients rather than having them in a pill, the reason for that is, again, because there's a synergy that happens with the vitamins, minerals, fiber that are all present in the food itself that work together to promote health and lower your risk. So you want to get as much of your phytochemicals from your whole foods rather than supplements. I'm not opposed to supplements. If you're someone who knows you're just not getting it all in a day, definitely speak to your doctor about having supplements be part of your life. But getting it from real food, from the actual source, is much better for your body to be able to absorb it and make the most of it. So I hope that you can see that phytonutrients should be center stage and in the spotlight as you are thinking about eating in a healthy way. When you go to the grocery store, be thinking about getting all of your colors in your cart. And when you go to choose recipes, think about ones that have lots of different colors. When you go to make a salad, what color am I missing? Do I have any of that? Add it on in. Phytonutrients really should be center stage when you're thinking about a healthy diet. So I want to share with you a way to take this knowledge that you have from watching this webinar and expand it. So starting this Friday and for 5 weeks, I have a program called Color Your Summer. And it is a fantastic program. It has lots and lots and lots of information to share. And the way I break it up is that every week we focus on one particular color. Now, this isn't how, this isn't in exclusivity of all other colors for that week, but just to give it a focus each week. And how I help with that focus is I have a private Facebook group that we can share different recipes and different ideas. I have an email that goes out every Friday giving you some information about that color, a little bit more detail, some of the things that I shared today, but even some more detail, lots of recipes, tons of recipes, an actual a week's worth of recipes along with a grocery list that help you to focus on that color of the week. In addition, on Wednesdays, I will give you a Wow Wednesday. Again, just a way to make you say wow and emphasize the fact that having that color is really, really important. So these Wow Wednesdays, I think, are really important to solidify your commitment to eating in a colorful way. And then this year, for folks who are local in New Hampshire, I am partnering with Local Basket, which is a meal kit prep company that's based here in Concord, New Hampshire. It's similar to a HelloFresh or Blue Apron, but it uses local ingredients and local proteins when possible. And she is creating a meal each week that highlights the color of the week. So this is the meal that's being prepared for this week, and you just go, if you're local to Concord, you go and you order on her website your Cook Tonight meal, and then you swing by Local Basket to grab your kit that has all of the ingredients, including the recipe to go along with it, and you have it to make. The proteins are frozen, so you won't unless you defrost the proteins, it really isn't to have exactly that night. I would recommend picking it up and letting your protein defrost in the refrigerator for the evening and having it the next day. If you are not local to New Hampshire, but you local to Concord, but you do live in New Hampshire, you can have it mailed to you. She does mail it out to anyone in New Hampshire. Those of you who are not in New Hampshire, I'm so sorry that this is not something that can be part of your Color Your Summer experience, but I'm hoping that the other recipes that I offer will give you plenty of choices. So I get this question often when people ask about Color Your Summer is, how is this helpful? I understand it's you know, helping me to not think about these processed foods or this junk food. And what I share with people is that when you start eating in this colorful way, when you start focusing on phytonutrients as your center stage in the spotlight, and you start choosing recipes that have lots of color, and you choose fruits and vegetables because they have this variety of phytonutrients, you crowd out the junk food. If you're eating all of these beautiful fruits and vegetables, they have a ton of fiber in them. You're not going to feel hungry to have that junk food. So when you eat in this healthy way, you often can lose weight. And I have had people every summer I've offered this program tell me that they've lost weight because they are eating in this way that is more focused on how the food is helping their body and not so focused on what you can't have, but really focused on what you can have. And it helped crowd out the junk. So there's the answer to that question. Color Your Summer is available to you starting this week. You can visit positiveenergy.co to register. If you've listened to this webinar, you can receive $5 off using code 43 to get $5 off your registration for Color Your Summer. And it all starts this week. I hope this inspired you to live a colorful life, whether just the information you got from the webinar is enough for you, or you'd like to further it with me to learn more through Color Your Summer. I know that just even tonight, you got plenty to get yourself started. And if you do Color Your Summer, you'll have even more. What I want to do before we close tonight is to look at your list of fruits and vegetables that you hadn't had often or maybe have never had. And I want that to be your grocery list this week. That is going to be a way to get you out of your comfort zone, out of your usual walk through the produce section, have you searching for things that maybe you don't even know what they look like, and doing a little research of how you cook them. And that's a way to really broaden your rainbow of colors and think about making phytonutrients a primary thought when you're doing your shopping and doing your recipe searches. So I hope this was helpful to you. I'd love your comments. Let me know what was most helpful, and I hope you decide to color your summer with me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to answer them. I will stop our video, stop our sharing, and say goodbye and thank you for watching.